All right, good morning. As a reminder, 1 Million Cups is a weekly event started by the Kauffman Foundation and is currently held in more than 130 communities across the nation with the goal of caffeinating entrepreneurs nationwide every Wednesday. And every Wednesday, those communities meet to give each other support, encouragement, and feedback over a cup of coffee. Our community meets here at Rome in the town at Trilith every Wednesday morning from 9 to 10, and 1 or 2 early stage startups will present their companies to a diverse audience of their peers, mentors, educators, and advisors. But before we get things started, I just want to acknowledge and thank our community sponsors, Rome for providing this beautiful space, Jason Hunter Design for volunteering their time and resources to organize and promote the event, Edwin Jarvis for the high quality flyers that we're able to distribute around town, and Counterculture Coffee for the coffee. Our guest this morning, Francesco, has created something called Thread, a blockchain project innovating neighborhood design for a future of cleaner, greener, smart real estate developments. At the end of his presentation, he will be asked, what can we as a community do for you, which will start the Q&A portion of the program. If there's time left after the Q&A, we'll open up the floor to any of the attendees who might need some feedback on something they have on their mind. So without further ado, I just need to change my camera setting and Francesco will have the floor. You are on, sir.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jason, for the introduction, and thank everybody for your time and attention. It's really good to be here and have this presentation opportunity. I really appreciate it. I certainly do. As Jason said, I'm working on a real estate blockchain project. Thread is.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pop us something here. Thread is something I've developed over the years. My experience with blockchain goes back to 2012, and I've worked with teams that developed product and projects and marketing, but this was my first lead project. And it's a culmination of passions in technology, real estate. We're developing what we think is the world's first NFT smart neighborhood. At least Google says so. So what does that entail? Well, if you don't mind going to the next slide, I'll tell you why. There's some major problems that I want to address, right? One, neighborhood development's overdue for a major smart upgrade. It hasn't changed in a long time. My experience of living on beautiful golf course properties for the last 3 years that I really don't like is kind of driven me in this direction. Also, my knowledge when I was younger, I was involved in a lot of construction. And I have family all over the world, all kinds of different neighborhoods, different types of houses. So also blockchain really needs real estate in order to scale. It's a $400 trillion industry worldwide. NFTs are $30 billion industry. So it needs real estate more than the other. So that being a carrier for the project and it having the opportunity to be asset backed was the real primary driver for me going into this. And so the other thing is construction needs to be affordable, needs to be healthy, needs to be sustainable. Going into the future, there are millions of people that need places to live, good places to live, that they don't just live for, but can live for them, to support them. So it's the concept of this neighborhood is to create a better product at the end of the day, better house, better apartment, a better business building, but to also create a circular economy that subsidizes some of the costs that it takes to live in it. So we were going to address it, these 3 problems.
Yeah, sorry.
Here we go to the next one. Is NFTs neighborhood real estate, which is to be safer, more sure, and more secure. Without getting into the technicals of how we're using NFTs to develop the neighborhood, fund the neighborhood, protect the neighborhood. That's the blockchain sort of entry point of what we're doing to raise capital, but also later to integrate invisible technology into the real estate space. You can unlock your doors with NFT, right? If you have the right door locks manufactured. So those are things that we're also working on with the manufacturing partners. And I built a world-class team around this, not only in NFT technology, manufacturing, but real estate. Our real estate development partner in this business is the mentor the gentleman that built everything you're standing on. He's developed 16,000 acres of mixed-use property in Florida. So blockchain community financial services, that's the circular economy, where we're able to subsidize costs by taking energy, selling it back to the grid, or using our solar powers to mine crypto, and then paying our residents so that they can afford better education for their children, better food, agricultural technology, all those things that are components of the neighborhood. And then innovative, greener, cleaner construction. This is really the end game, where we're going to take a 40 or 50-year-old technology called insulated concrete forms. We're going to innovate in that space. Because when you build with those, it's faster, safer, hurricane-proof, fire-proof, bulletproof, but it's also kind of old, and half of the components are made of plastics. So there's a space for innovation there, and we can go farm to factory. So that's really the problems and how we are kind of addressing how we're unique. I'll get into later, but if you don't mind going to the next slide. The business of Thread, we have several potential revenue lines, of course, NFT sales, royalties through coin and tokenomic fees. We've also got residential, commercial rental income, home design, manufacturing, sales, DeFi services, and then later on consulting, because when we crack the code on these things, we build this amazing neighborhood, whether it's here or in Florida, and we understand it fully, we're going to open source that and give it to the world. Very similar to Tesla. That's why there's such a ramp up in electric vehicle manufacturing. Because Elon Musk said, you know what, just tell everybody, open source the technology, right? So you can go and get their technology and iterate on it. Same thing. So there's thousands and thousands of developers around the world building homes, building neighborhoods, that if they had the information to build a better neighborhood and in the long run it's more profitable, would probably do it if they had a good system to apply it. So we want to eventually turn it around to be that, not the Tesla of homes and neighborhoods, more like the WordPress of homes and neighborhoods, right? If you're familiar with them. So that's the business model of the Thread NFT Smart Neighborhood. If you picture an infinity symbol with a roundabout park in the middle and 4 buildings with 350 apartments and 30 businesses under there, right? And then around the loops of the infinity, about 160 homes. That's the pilot neighborhood. Okay, so it's small enough to do fast enough to create consumer demand. And then we're going to look for larger places to develop here in the Southeast, Florida, or Georgia, that'll be more of a farm to factory site. Because remember, we're going to innovate in the ICF space, so potentially giant bamboo hemp farm to factory, because we can do sustainable materials, right? Rigid cellulose is going to replace styrofoam coffee cups if anybody has one, which is what's used in insulated concrete forms. And then polypropylene ties can be replaced with hemp plastics. And that's all the science we're going to do. So, Thread.money. We're not going to build your typical house that you see around here. Shingles on the roof. I want to hang out on the roof, and we're going to have 3 acres of solar array distributed all around the property, right? We only need about 1.5 acres to power the entire neighborhood. So it gives us double the energy production to sell back to the grid and or mine crypto to subsidize costs in the neighborhood. Great. So where we're a little different, our utility, NFT utility, will be tied to energy, like I was talking about, property rights, a decentralized HOA, right? I don't know if you guys have ever lived in an HOA system where there's like one dictator. It sucks, really bad. Security, and the WeFi fractionalized revenue system that we're developing just for our neighborhood. And other people around the world to be able to participate and invest in that. And the next part is, of course, the eco-friendly, sustainable farm-to-factory building material science. It's a mouthful, but it's my favorite thing. It really is, because that's the innovation that needs to happen to carry us to the next phase of building here on our planet. Because what we're doing is not sustainable. It's really a bad job, right? So similar to Tesla, it's going to be expensive at first. It's going to get cheaper later, and it's going to get really profitable later. We've got to do a great job of showcasing this and creating consumer demand worldwide. So the net zero, carbon neutral, healthy, reproducible, smart neighborhood is our goal. We want to be carbon neutral, plant enough trees. All of these homes don't have HVAC systems, they're on geothermal, they're quite passive, they're 17% more expensive to build, and they're 70% cheaper to maintain. So really, my goal is to have a 50-year warranty on a house product. It's just unheard of, right? So that's the thread magic, makes us a little bit different. We think it's a place for the future to begin. How the community can help, be aware and join us. We're looking to sync up and work with like-minded innovators or residents. We're going to drive around the country and the world and talk to people and interview them about neighborhoods and what it's like to live there, what do you hate, what do you don't hate. Do that in my backyard too. But if you know a scientist or you know a builder, you know a contractor, you think they'd like to be a part of a cool community, send them to our Discord, send them to our Telegram. Thread.money's our site. It's really easy to find.
That was my first question. You answered it well. So I feel like for the sake of our audience, not knowing where everybody comes into the room from, could you just do a really brief explanation of blockchain and NFTs so that people can understand the basis of all of this?
Sure, absolutely. Love to. So blockchain is a decentralized technology, which just means it's not supposed to be sitting on a room full of servers like an Amazon software, right? It's distributed, right? You have a copy, you have a copy, you have a copy. So we all have copies all over the place. It's lightweight, it's easy to distribute everywhere, right? And the reason it's called blockchain is because it basically reproduces itself, right? A new block with a new transaction record, whatever it is, whether it's I bought a coffee like I just did with my crypto this morning, or I have a contract with you to rent an apartment that's created in a block that also makes a copy of the previous block so that you don't have to have all of the software. So blockchain, that's how it works, right? So then the products inside that are your coins, tokens, NFTs, and potentially your STOs, which are security token offerings. That's a really long play. That's registered at the SEC. Security token offering is something that's offered privately. You probably don't hear a lot about it because it's not something you can promote publicly. So when we build this community, we'll have those STOs available for the community only. Hopefully, I mean, of course, that's up to the SEC. There's a patent regulation. So we got off track there, but that's really the essence of blockchain, really simply. It's an encrypted technology that's easy to share, copies itself, and it's always there. The record's always there. It's indisputable.
And so, data mining is essentially just housing the data to run, like, what's the word? Not equations. I guess just explain the mining piece of that.
So mining is because it's a verification process. Okay, so it's proof of work, proof of stake. These are all different verification methodologies, and there's like 13 of them at this point. So mining isn't actually digging anything out. It's a computational process that verifies blocks. And then people get rewarded for using their computer technology, and that reward comes as Bitcoin or something that's being mined. Look, I know there's a lot of Bitcoin maximalists in the world, a lot of Ether maximalists in the world. They probably aren't going to want to hear this, but Bitcoin to me it's an economic battery, but it's like the Wright flyer. Okay, proved it can be done. We don't see a lot of those flying around today, right? So then here comes Ethereum. It's a jet. You can build software on it. You can make games out of it. You can make apps. You can do all this stuff, right? So, but then in comes a technology like Cardano that's more like a spaceship because it's way more secure, way faster. You don't have to mine it, anything like that. And we really like that. They're distributing that in countries that need it the most.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Cardano?
Yeah.
So former founder of Ethereum, brilliant mathematician named Charles Hoskinson, left Ethereum because the very young Butelik said, no, don't worry about the bottlenecks. We're going to launch, we do it anyway. So he left Ethereum and developed Cardano over 6 years. It's like the 6th or 7th largest blockchain. People give it a lot of flack because, well, lots of reasons, but It's just a better technology. It's faster. It's more secure. Haskell is a different programming language. You got to be scientist, engineer kind of person to even understand Haskell. Whereas everything else in blockchain, it's written on Solidity, which is sort of a web-based code. Easier to learn, easier to adopt, easier for people to chop up products. But it took a lot longer on Cardano because of that. So we like that technology for our safety, security, and surety. Very likely to be using Cardano for our NFTs and everything in the future. Right now, we've got a community token coin that's available on a decentralized exchange called PancakeSwap. And that token is made on something called Binance. Binance is basically a copy of Ethereum, which most things are iterations and copies there. It's open source, right? So Binance is like the third or fourth largest in the world. It's the most used exchange on Earth. So for awareness, community token, getting everything started, it's a really good idea for us to go with that. So right now, that's where our token is. We are going to launch our first NFT. If it's not this quarter, then it'll be very, very early next year.
What would an NFT look like for you? What would that be?
So NFT for us is going to be a membership. The first NFT will be fundraiser for the land acquisition and membership to verify people in the sort of deeper layers of the community. So if you have the NFT, the first NFT, really participate in our innovation think tanks and in our development groups and things like that. And by having that NFT, you can purchase the second series NFT, and that's the one that's going to have property rights, the ability to buy and build a home or to rent an apartment or a business. So, and that's really where we go until the neighborhood's developed. Then there'll be other NFTs. Those are going to be just for the community. They're not going to be a public offer.
Do you have is there a buy-in? Is there an amount for this at this point?
Not at all. I mean, somebody could go technically and support us with $8 on PancakeSwap by buying some of our token. Great. Or we can talk equity purchase, or the NFTs will go out. We'll probably do a launch where it depreciates the price until they sell out. We expect to raise $10 million with our 10,000 NFTs. So we want them to be affordable and accessible, and to hit the secondary market really hard. I think just the utility of what we're doing here is really special. It's really unique. So I expect our secondary market sales to do really well and drive the value. And it's also sort of bull market, but bear market dependent. Like, we're not trying to launch it right now. We could, but it's not a good idea. After November, though, I think we're going to see a big difference in the crypto markets. But right now, in the American markets, I mean, the world, traditional markets are struggling. So crypto is very tied to them.
I could go on all day.
Me too.
Somebody else.
Sorry. So that's a really great question. Eventually, right? So right now, our customers are token buyers to support community. Then our customers will be the NFT purchasers. Our customers are going to be the home purchasers. And of course, we're going to own this real estate development. 350 apartments and 30 businesses. Those are also our customers. So we have a lot of customers to focus on there. One at a time, though. Of course, right now we're selling our token, promoting our token, and growing our seed capital. But eventually, like the big goal is, we've got the best design neighborhood on Earth, the best technology. We're going to teach developers how to roll it out without them going crazy. I want to take the stick-built boys and turn them into concrete cabinets with the ICF technology that's been innovated and greener, cleaner.
How does it compare to traditional financing? If I want to buy a house, find a lender, and office, how do you think you can compete with that in 5 years?
Great question. We have so there's some partnerships in blockchain. There are lots of players in the ecosystem trying to innovate things like mortgage and finance services. It really depends on what you're doing for building a home. I mean, it's almost safe to assume that we'll probably sell out our first neighborhood with just, I don't want to build up a crypto whales and just paying, Ether or anything, but I can't stop that from happening either. But we want to be a part of that DeFi ecosystem that helps provide financing and for the building.
For property that I own, or is it into the crypto fund?
Both, actually. And if you're a homeowner, it's the property you own. You would own the house, of course. But I don't have that same equity opportunity for an apartment then, right? So it's both. For the homeowner, they get the double dose because they're able to participate in blockchain equity ecosystem, building valuation and everything, as well as the home itself, right? You're going to be the owner of that. We don't want to own that home. It's part of our development plan, just like most neighborhoods, pre-sell homes, find a buyer or have a real estate agent bring in a buyer, get it financed, start paying in trenches as it's developed. So both there.
So like a big picture thinking about this model disrupting in the existing industry, whether it be like facility, construction, is there anybody that's going to be comfortable with this?
Yes, very much. And I'm a firm believer in getting big enough before you start using words like I'm going to disrupt an industry. But your major home builders, Brian, your Horton, these guys are publicly traded monsters that just pump out the stick-built houses all over the place. There's definitely some major old school players there. But what's really helpful is working with people that have done so much development in this space. A development partner, mentor, JT Williams, planning 6 golf courses in the state, 16,000 acres of mixed use in Florida, Georgia, 60% of the homes in Tallahassee. He's currently, he's in charge of clean air for our state. You can't build a highway without signing on. He approves market budgets, things like that. And not being cocky, saying I'm going to go disrupt anything. So I'm going to build one neighborhood, do a really good job. And what we learn, we're going to give away. What we earn, we're going to use to innovate, right? Pilot one neighborhood. It's not a profit-driven thing, right? It's the right flag. Prove this is the best way to build a neighborhood, and let the consumers push into those other big entities, just like they did with Ford and GM and every other car manufacturer that now is throwing out those V8s.
If all barriers were removed and you could build this in your ideal location, where's your ideal location?
It's a really good question. So I have a family, and it's not just my decision here, right? And that's sort of the driving force too. It's like I have 4 little girls, and they've created great opportunities. But I'm also biased because I grew up in this area. So right now I have to remove that all away from it and think just logically what's the best for the project. And the best for the project is to be close to the world's busiest airport with most direct flights. We're looking at major pieces of land within 40 minutes, an hour of Atlanta. But plan B, Space Coast, just because I want Elon to drive by and live here, because he's kind of stepping into housing too, everything, of course. But it's not, I don't want to say it's not going to work. I would never call him out on that. But it's not traditionally bank friendly, right? The little boxes he wants to send and put everybody in and shell out. No bank's going to finance, right? You're going to pay cash almost or get like a car note. So that's a problem with pre-manufactured homes in that you can build an amazing pre-manufactured home, really great tolerances and go drop it off. Banks just hate it. Doesn't matter. So that's where we're different is we want to manufacture kits, build them on site. Traditional financing, not a problem, and opens access to more people. We don't have to build super, super cheap little cramped boxes. So, but yeah, back to your question, where's the best place? Really, Georgia is amazing. The energy, like people in this state, the real estate people in this state, like everything so far has been super supportive. We just got to find the right deal and the right piece of property. There's 1,000 acres right down the road. It'd be amazing. I love Fayette County, a long, rich history here, and I've worked with the city here on digital marketing projects and VR stuff for a long, long time, and I think it'd be a really, really great space if they'll have us. And part of it was the fact that this was built. This whole community here, it's new, it's different, and that's not an easy thing to do in this county. Truett, Kathy, and JT tried to build a golf course in Tyrone and couldn't do it. right? Founder of Chick-fil-A, Dan Cathy built all of this, right? Couldn't do it. Like John Whelan, custom home builder, had to sue the county 3 times to get the first permit. So we've got that to swim through as well. And in picking the best place, also, it's very important that they allow us to build what we want to build, which is very traditional, like European or village kind of feel, where you've got 3 layers of housing over a region, and not every municipality is friendly to that. So we're a big fan of going where the community will just love what we're doing and let us do it. And hopefully that's here in my backyard and not in Florida or Tennessee or something, but I don't care. I got to go there. I'll go to that cornfield to build my baseball field. You know?
Nice reference.
What type of footprint, which 1,000 acres, is that what your pilot is that you're trying this?
It's really not, actually. That's way more than we need. It's just there's 1,000 acres available. Maybe about half that size, 300 to 500 acres would be fine. I don't want to waste the property, but I also want it to be like just a beautiful place that we can integrate lots of parks and lots of, just great places for people to enjoy. So, and also it's got to be available in more places. So the higher the acreage, the less availability we look at, when we try to duplicate this in other cities or, and that was really, that's why I wasn't interested in building smart cities, because you got to go do it in the desert. Where are you going to build a smart city where there's no city? The smallest Lego block is civilization's neighborhood. Build good neighborhoods anyway, and there's bad neighborhoods up for replacement. So just because this pilot will be about that size, we'll be able to also adapt to smaller or larger in the future.
I don't know how to ask this question because the thought's not worked out in my head, but you asked who the customer is, and I'm wondering who are the residents? Like,
Me too.
I know that you said you really want to start this here because you're from here, right? But and you said you have people in your family that live all over the world in different types of housing. So I'm wondering, is this a solution for third world countries? Is this, I won't even call it a solution. Is this something fun and nice for Dan Cathy's next project? Like who, on the spectrum, for what it's worth, for those of you who aren't familiar with where we are right now, you're in the town of Trillett, which was built across the street from Trillett Studios as a way to satisfy the film industry, because there's like 10,000 people on the lot every day or something like that. It's an insane number. So as you go outside, the area that we're on is about 400 acres, if I'm not mistaken, which is about the same as what you're saying you need. So if you can visualize the size of the neighborhood and what's being created here. I was here the day they raised the first wall on the first house. And I remember them saying, this is going to be an inclusive neighborhood. You're going to have, Robert Downey Jr. living next to a school teacher. Like, yeah, that's the reaction. Exactly. Like, no school teacher can afford the square footage here.
My father was a school teacher at Black Mountain.
Yeah,
We
no.
live down the street, but
Not in here. I know. And that's so, like, I don't know. That was the dream, and they just realized it wasn't possible once they started building it. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. If that was their dream, it was a nice dream. But the only school teacher who's living here has a spouse that's making 7 digits. So that being said, I'm trying to figure out, like, I think you're an absolute visionary for creating this whole thing. I think the blockchain technology, NFTs, all of that is just a really creative way of creating a solution like this. And I'm just worried that I wouldn't be able to participate in any way as an investor or as a resident. So I don't know. That's my question. I guess I'm thinking about the neighborhoods in this country and countries outside of North America that are third world. They're poor.
Yeah.
Like, is this a solution?
It can be eventually. It's not a solution out of the box. Just like you couldn't buy a $40,000 Tesla.
Right.
Year one, right? The first Teslas were $130,000, $150,000 in 2 years, and they weren't even really a Tesla,
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. Is it going to be an initial project for the elite or a developer like that? Honestly, up front, I don't care if I can get it done that way, because what I learned and what I can open source, that's how we get this down to potentially places like, you're talking about we've got to be able to get the resources, the materials there.
I respect
The
that.
biggest
Yeah.
thing is like, okay, well, where can we get the concrete? Because
Right.
concrete's important, right? And there's innovation in that space where they're mixing in recycled wood, paper, ash, even, the masks everybody was wearing last year, okay? We're putting those in concrete now, and it's increasing the strength dramatically.
Wow.
We don't know what kind of chemicals that's feeding out into our living space. So
Love
there's a huge concern there too. I'm back to chemistry, but absolutely. I want to target the middle market. That's really, and that's where I live in about a $400,000 to $500,000 home any day of the week, and I want to build these initial houses to be in that 500 to 800, depending, kind of category. But they could, because of the nature of it being blockchain NFT, they could get really expensive, and which would be great because we use that money to innovate, but then all of a sudden, just because they were that, it hyped up the price. So I'm trying to create a balance and just focus on the long-term innovative plan. I mean, we've got a roadmap up to 2030, that at that point, 2028, 2030, we've got a manufacturing facility that can kit out small versions of this and send it anywhere. And that can be really powerful. And we can do farm to factory, then bamboo and hemp grow all over the world. So
Have you seen on Apple TV Home? I think you're gonna watch. Has anybody seen it? I hate to say this, it's typically what I put on to fall asleep at night, but I don't mean to say that it's really that boring. It's just the kind of TV that you don't really have to be invested in. But they go all over the world and focus on these really unique homes. And I think this is either season 2 or season 3 at this point. I don't fall asleep because I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. We're just so beautiful. And I just start dreaming, right? You're going to be on that show. You should absolutely watch the show. I think you're going to be incredibly inspired by what some of the other people have done. Yeah, I think that's really great.
It started with me designing my own. I'm the my own dog food. So I bought a beautiful piece of land for myself to develop. I designed my own home, every piece of it, and I was ready to build. I had the deposits for the septic and the well and everything ready, and that was March 2020. And everybody had the rug pulled out from under us, and anyways, you want to make God laugh, tell them your plans.
Yeah.
There's still the property, still the design, still the passion to do it, but something shifted. And I think it was just being, partitioned off away from the world for a year and a half, 2 years. I decided I didn't want to live with a family. I decided that they're really young, and I wanted them to have a really good community neighborhood that they like. So, that's the way it should be in the one I'm living in, but it's not. So I don't know if I can fix all the problems having to do with neighborhoods and housing, but out of the list of 250, I think I can address about 140.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that question, but it's your background. You were talking about NFT and you were talking about chemistry. How kind of interesting what you have done and what have brought you to this.
Wow, great question. So I grew up a very hands-on person. I'm a small town, small little farm boy in Durban. So I'm very, 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 very easy to take things apart, put back together. My professional career has been in digital marketing and sales, advertising. I've done huge PR projects. This gentleman and I have we built the world's largest consumer toy drone company off the shelves out of retail 10 years ago. We had 6 feet of it was a giant company. We got the Golden Mouse Award from Disney in 2017 for Star Wars Li-Fi. It was the world's first ever Li-Fi consumer drone product. We didn't invent it, but we were part of marketing digital strategy. I've done a lot of consulting over there in Los Angeles. I don't do that anymore. But that's really my core background. And then on the chemistry side, I'm just a sucker for that stuff. It also helps that my father-in-law is he's head of performance chemicals for Merck. So all of our phones have his patents. There's 700 patents. So like Thanksgiving, I'm talking about chemistry, and yeah. So I'm a scientist and innovator at heart, but as a capitalist, I spent the last 15 to 20 years building and optimizing other people's brands, from small businesses to really, really big businesses, back and forth. And yeah, I decided that, enough is enough. I want to take all my passions, put them together, and that's Thread. And the reason I call it Thread is because it's really the world's oldest technology. And it's a common thing. You can't live without, you just can't survive without Thread. So it just kind of came to me that was something that tied it all together.
Are you fully committed to this project or you want to still have it?
I have another business, actually, and it's a Google VR business. We do 360 it's like pre-metaverse. I'm the photographer and developer and owner of GeorgiaVirtualTours.com, which is an amazing educational virtual tour of our state capitol, our governor's office, even up in the Gold Dome on the top of the roof of cupola, and the Supreme Court of Georgia. I've served thousands of businesses all up and down the East Coast in Europe. That business has been around for about 10 years now. It was myself and my wife. We started grinding it out years ago. 6 years ago, I got a partnership with Google, and I became the largest provider and the most recognized provider in the group. And then in 2020, the business came to a grinding halt because most of our revenues were coming from either restaurants or universities, and we were all closed. But that business is still alive and well, and I'm building an exit team so that I can transition out of that. I get funding, then 100% of my time will be spent with Thread.
Thank you.
Jason, I can tell you how you would the home. So
Yeah,
$500 probably quite enough. So value, when the value goes to dollar.
and that is done how right now on Pancake
the
Swap?
token, yeah, Pancake Swap is the third largest decentralized exchange, which means you don't need to know your customer. It's not like a normal exchange where you're sending your passport and your driver's license. So I don't know how long those are going to last in America right now. Regulations are kind of clamping down on it. But it around the world, it's the third largest. So we did what's called a stealth launch, and it was really to develop our partnerships and early investors. And the token right now is a very, very low market cap. So just a few $100,000. So, and then getting it to a few $1 million, it happens really quickly with just a little bit of marketing and advertising. So yeah, the potential to invest and make a lot from a little, yeah, absolutely. There are early investors that got into Uber and put in 50 grand for 150 million, but when they made it happen. Now, reasonably, we get to $1, we do it fast. We do one of those things. I don't know how fast it'll be, but I know we could be worth less than $1 billion and our token would be worth $1. That was by design. So yeah, if everybody wants to sell or wants to talk about that, like I said, for a cup of coffee, you can support, you can buy some tokens, say you had it. In fact, everybody want to give you your email at the end of class. I will send you your first 100 Thread tokens on me. I'll set up your wallet and all that stuff.
More of a personal question. You split your time or balance your time. This, your home business, family guy, all of that. Knowing that balance doesn't really exist.
That Dolly Parton song, Working 9 to 5, inverted. We're 5 to 9, 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. I have an incredible partner and support system. Won the life lottery, to be honest with you, when it comes to that. So she's absolutely amazing, supportive, and rolling her eyes while I'm saying this, I'm sure somewhere. But that really helps. It also helps to be really focused on your priorities. I learned as an entrepreneur a long time ago that if you keep moving the magnifying glass all over, you never start a fire on one thing. So where I'm super creative with lots of businesses, do this, do that, that is a real bad idea, right? So like me focusing, it's hard enough to draw one bow, let alone two. And so that's something that plagues me every day. And I think anybody that's got maturity, got family, got more than one business, that's something we have to overcome. And it's gotta create a sense of balance there, or else, you know, the tires will just fall off the lap. I can't spend. You know, look, Elon Musk has 9 children. Does he know any of them? Okay. You know, does he? So I'm, that's the real wealth. I mean, no matter what I build, no matter how much money I make, there's never going to be a U-Haul following my hearse, period. So yeah, my family comes first, but they're cheering me on. And if you have that, you're already rich. So
Before we end, I just would like to ask everybody to take out your camera and scan the QR code so you can check in. It's a new thing 1 Million Cups is doing just to keep track of attendance. Thank you guys. Honestly, thank you all for coming this morning. The crowd is getting bigger and bigger each week. I really appreciate it. This was a great presentation. Cisco, thank you so much for your not only your time this morning, but like just applying because Darren pushed you and then you were on like a day later. So it's great. I will admit there was actually a little bit of confusion. So 1 Million Cups has recently redesigned the website portal that we use, and it is very confusing. Darren reached out and said, "Hey, I'm going to come on Wednesday for this presentation." And I was like, "Do we have anybody booked for Wednesday?" And I went in and no one was booked. So I was like, "Well, he's booked now because Darren's coming to see him and we don't have anybody." So great. I'm glad you were able to just jump right in. But
awesome. I appreciate it. It's really, really supportive. I just got back from Paris Blockchain Week and talking with potential investors there. And then I got back and Darren was like, you gotta come to 1 Million Cups. I'm like, what's that?
yeah, it's great. Well, ordinarily the format is that you'd only have 6 minutes to present and then 20 minutes of Q&A, and then a second person would get to do the same thing. But because we only had one today, we don't keep track of time. And I think it worked out perfect. We're still 8 minutes before the hour. As I promised, if anybody else in the room has anything they want to discuss, or if you want to keep this conversation going, we're welcome to use this time however you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and end the Facebook Live, and we will see everybody next Wednesday, 9 o'clock.